This is the Last Minute Blues Podcast with Donnie Fandango, Jeff Burton, Alex Ferrario, and former Blues defenseman Jamie Rivers.
It is the Last Minute Blues Podcast. Donnie Fandango, Jamie Rivers, Jeff Burton, Alex Ferrario. We are 1 day away from the beginning of the season. Hockey got going in earnest last night. Our dude Jamie Rivers getting ready to hit the road this afternoon. So we be podcasting.
Yeah, I figured it's the perfect time. Just cutting some spots down at 101 for the fast lane, and I got to be at the airport. We have a 3:50 flight today, but we're meeting the team in Dallas. Ordinarily, we fly with the team, but they did their team retreat beforehand, and that's obviously for team members only. So the media members are all the Whack Pack are all on the same flight down to Dallas today at 3:50.
Very good. So, legitimately, this is probably very dumb. I appreciate that it is. But it is legitimately the guys on the team, and that is it. There is, is there coaches?
Oh, yeah.
Okay, coaches.
So anybody surrounding the team on a full-time basis. So trainers, equipment guys, coaches, players, which makes sense because those guys they're in it all year together. And so, yeah, absolutely. But no media, no PR staff, none of that. Man. It's just team only.
And when it's a group of guys that, by and large, know each other, are familiar with each other, have played with each other for a little while, not what is the point, because it's always good to get everybody together and have a great time, you know what I mean? But, why is it so important, even if there hasn't been a bunch of turnover and you're introducing new guys into the locker room?
Yeah, it's mostly to get everybody focused. Again, you've been away all summer. Everybody's been on their own agenda. You've been skating probably for a month or so. Yes, you just went through training camp, but you really haven't had any time as a team. And so it's a good way to kind of get everybody focused back on team first, go over some things that you'd like to accomplish, team goals, personal goals, all that stuff, and just kind of get ready to go. Get ready for a long season. It's a good little, refresh.
Okay. So I know you're you're chomping at the bit to play a game that matters. Chomping at the bit. You just want to get out there and go. But also, if you're a vet, you know that this is the beginning of what you just said, a long freaking season. How do you mentally pace yourself to kind of ride out those sort of highs and lows and everything? Because I would assume that if you are that you could go balls to the wall and burn yourself out by December. How do you balance that sort of thing mentally and physically?
You stay in the now. If you start looking down the road at the schedule and you're thinking to yourself, man, this is game 1 of 82. I got 81 more of these games.
Maybe you shouldn't be playing in the NHL.
Well, but it happens. Some guys, they as you get older, it happens because your body's tired, your body's sore, and you want to keep playing because you love playing. You certainly love making the paychecks. But, it's not always an easy thing. No matter how much you love your job or how passionate you are about what you do in any walk of life, there are mornings where you get out of bed and you're just not feeling it.
Yeah, absolutely.
And most of the time, most of society doesn't have to worry about 20,000 in the building plus however many are watching on TV looking at you, seeing if you're, maybe not feeling it that day.
Right.
If you show up here to the radio station, you're not feeling it, and the people who get, 80% of Donnie Fandango, you can't really tell.
Right.
You're like, okay.
Right.
All right. But if you show up and give 50 or 60% on the ice,
very apparent.
You can see it.
Yeah.
So, no, for me it was always, and I don't know what they do currently. I'll find out more as we go along with the season here. But for me it was always about 5-game segments. Just kind of look out 5 games, kind of set some personal goals as a team and as an individual, even though, I can only control what I can control, but you always want to have, 3 out of the 5 games have victories, 3 out of the 5 games be a plus player. Mm-hmm. So then for me, that way I'm not looking too far. And then if I have a bad 5-game segment, it doesn't lead to 10 or 15 games because I'm not really focused on that. I can kind of park it after and then start my next 5-game segment. And, the next 5 games could be way different. And you're not dwelling on the past. And then you're excited to see the next 5. I don't know. That's
Dude, it's amazing the mind game that you play with yourself almost. That sounded weird, but you know what I mean?
Yeah,
like
there's a lot of playing with yourself when it comes to your mind games.
right.
Yes.
But you do.
Well said, Donnie.
But you just, taking it as 5 games, that makes all of the sense in the world. Well, something has happened since the last time that we podcasted. And I don't exactly know where this is all coming from, but it just seems as though Blues fans seem to maybe be like down on this team a bit. Obviously, the national hockey writing press is not are not fans of the Blues. Listen, I've said it before here. I know that I get very optimistic and I get very excited because I just love hockey and I'm happy to have the guys back. But I genuinely, Jamie, with all of the talking that we have done, I don't know why you wouldn't go into this season way more glass half full than glass half empty. It seems to me that there are many reasons to be excited, and there are some concerns, and we're also in the Western Conference with a lot of good teams. But, Joe, man, I don't understand. It feels like people are hitting the panic button before the season even started.
So I think this is just a carryover, and let me explain. Last year, not great for the Blues. All right, let's put that in the rearview mirror. Cardinal season's here. We know how that went.
Yep.
Not a good season. So people are not very optimistic right now.
Yeah.
That's my feeling overall. I mean, I deal with the text line and the YouTube chat every day down on the fast lane, and people are just, they're skeptical of everything.
Yeah.
Well, I don't know how this player will be. I don't know if Army made the right decision. I don't know if the DeWitts will spend the money. I don't know if we can compete in the Central Division. It's just because for me it's like a 2-season hangover. The Blues season, the Cardinals season, and now the Blues season's back, and people are still like, we just got our ass handed to us 2 separate seasons in a row. I don't feel really good about this stuff.
Man, that makes a lot of sense, dude.
That's my take on it.
Yeah.
I could be 100% wrong, but I like you. I'm feeling optimistic about this team. Do I think they're going to be, competing for the Central Division title or the Western Conference first place? No, I don't. It could happen, maybe, but I see them battling for 3rd place in the Central Division. Mm-hmm. If that's the case, man, that's a victory for this team.
Because you are behind a tremendous Colorado team and a tremendous Dallas team.
Well, the Dallas and Colorado are predicted to be the Stanley Cup contenders this year. So, yeah, and we get to start the season against Dallas.
Isn't it so crazy? It's not crazy, but it's amazing to me that that Colorado. I guess it's not really, because with having what's his name out for the year, Nikushka, or what's his name, Landeskog. Yeah, he's out for the year, right?
I think he's out for most of the year. Yeah,
until the playoffs.
We thought that last year, but he didn't come back, and he's still injured. So I could see him coming back for playoffs this year, though. Yes.
So that team that was already going to be pretty good gets that guy back at the end of the season.
Yeah, but it'll mess up all their chemistry, Donnie.
Oh, right.
Like when Patrick Kane came back and the Chicago Blackhawks. Oh, that's right. They won the cup that year.
Dude,
damn it.
It's so crazy. I mean, it's just I see, and this is where me, the fan, is honestly like, is Colorado that good? Is Dallas that good? Yeah. They're
deep. They got a lot of talent, and they got good defense, good goaltending. They're good hockey clubs. Yeah. It's okay. It's okay to have 2 teams in your division that are probably better than you are. But there's nothing that says you can't finish 3rd in that division. And then once you get to the playoffs, man, anything is possible, especially in the sport of hockey. Teams that are mediocre go on to win cups. We saw it with the LA Kings in one year, limped in, barely got in the playoffs, won the Stanley Cup. Last year, the Florida Panthers limped in because Pittsburgh Penguins couldn't close out a deal against the Blackhawks, and the Panthers end up in the Stanley Cup final. So Blues end up 3rd place, end up in the playoffs. Anything can happen.
Well, and also, too, man, like if there is one thing that is very apparent in virtually any of the big sports, if you are playing right at the right time, that means as much as anything else. So it's almost like the Blues can use the first month or 2 of the season not to figure it out as far as the wins and losses column, because you cannot you can't get too far behind in points in the West. I get that. But, they can kind of play with the formula a little bit, right? And kind of figure out what they have here.
Well, yeah. And the biggest thing is this team here in St. Louis this year got to figure out defensively how they're going to play. Now they have a new system, a new strategy, a new mindset. Look pretty good in preseason. The test will be regular season, obviously. But if that system changes the amount of, high danger opportunities for the opposition, there's a lot that changes then. Now your goaltending is not as taxed as it once was, and you already know that you have a playoff goalie that is on your roster. Jordan Binnington, for whatever reason, he's able to elevate come playoff time. And so you got that guy. You're playing a tighter game defensively. You maybe Thomas and Kyrou take those next steps. Pavel Buchnevich establishes himself as like a superstar or some kind of a star player after this season. Who knows, man? Injuries for other teams. Like, this is why this is why we do 5-game segments, Donnie.
Right.
This way we don't get carried away with everything.
Right. Well, but that's so, man, that's so very true. Even just from a man, as a Bills fan, 5 weeks in, you know what I mean? With no Milano for the rest of the year, most likely. No Trey White for the rest of the season, for sure, with injuries all over the place. Like, you just can never, ever be prepared for that stuff. But when it happens, you just got to hope that you're still, that the reserves can come in and right the ship, which with the Bills, I don't have that faith. But with this Blues team, man, they're so loaded up front. I just feel like if a couple of our guys can take some legit steps to play both sides of the ice, Jordan Kyrou, Robert Thomas, then that's going to make a huge freaking difference, just that alone.
Well, it will, for sure. And I just like the depth of the roster. Like, your fourth line as it sits is Neighbors, Sundqvist, and Toropchenko. Like, it's great. I don't feel uncomfortable with that line out on the ice against anybody, including Connor McDavid and Leon Draisaitl. Is it the matchup I'm preferring? No. But am I okay with it? Yeah. You're on the road. The other team has last change. You end up with your fourth line out there. There's no panic. We can't say that about last year.
Yeah, no, for sure. Okay, so I'm going to say this, and this is a Blues fan thing to say or to ask. But is this fourth line reminiscent of the fourth line when the Blues won the Cup, in that you can trust them out there in big situations against almost any line, and every once in a while they're going to score, they're going to do something to push the team forward.
Let's just say it's the off-brand version of that, okay?
Because you had Alex Steen.
You got Alex Steen. Let's not get carried away.
Yeah.
Like, that guy probably going to be a Blues Hall of Famer at one point here. An exceptional hockey player, a really high hockey IQ, very good defensively.
Okay.
You're not replacing Alex Steen. Sundqvist is easy. Well, you got Sundqvist back, so we take care of that one. Let's not forget how instrumental Barbashev was, too,
Barbie.
on that. Toropchenko could become Barbie defensively, but I don't know if he has the offensive upside. Where I lean with all of this is Jake Neighbors, who's kind of the wild card. Mm-hmm. Because if Jake Neighbors can become Ivan Barbashev, meaning he can score 20 goals, play the 200-foot game, kill penalties, be physical. Now you're getting closer to what you had in 2019. For me, the big difference maker, though, is still Alex Steen. You don't have that guy on your fourth line.
Yeah, that makes all
but it doesn't mean you can't have a fourth line that you trust. It doesn't mean that they can't evolve throughout the season. That's why I said it's kind of the off-brand, where you taste it, it's good. I mean, it's not quite the name brand.
Right.
But, yeah.
It'll do the job.
I can handle this.
Tell me about, what are your thoughts on Jake Neighbors, and what do you think about him, where he is in his development right now as an NHLer? Because the dude is still 21?
I think he's 21 now, yeah. He's a young kid.
Dude.
Look, I think Jake Neighbors is exactly where he needs to be.
Okay.
People had him projected to be a top 6 forward. Maybe. I projected him to be a third-line player in the NHL.
Okay.
And so that leaves him room to grow right now. But, what I like about Jake Neighbors is that he works hard. He plays hard defensively. He plays physical. He's a team-first guy. And if Verana or Blais or anybody up in that, the winger starts to stumble or not play well, you can move Jake Neighbors up the lineup. You could easily see a tough start for Sammy Blais, maybe. Let's hope not. But if it happens, you could see a swap there, where Blais ends up going down the fourth line, Neighbors gets a shot on the third line. You could see if Verana can't handle the assignment out there defensively. If he's just, too focused on scoring goals, you could see some kind of a change there. You know what I mean?
Yeah, it's just very funny to me, man, because, I cannot watch the game with eyeballs like you as far as, a lot of the X's and O's that are happening. But there are definitely times where we can see our boy Verona that just don't feel like playing defense.
And it's unfair, too, to just grade him off of last year because he wanted to come to St. Louis. He was basically on a tryout.
Yeah.
So was Kapanen because, Army, although they had a year left, Army could have bought them out, could have walked, could have traded him again, whatever, could have waived him. So I know that Verona wanted to get back on the score sheet. He wanted to prove that he's still, I wouldn't say an elite goal scorer, but a good goal scorer in the NHL. And look, those guys lean, they lean offensively.
Yep.
And this is the one thing that people have to wrap their brains around, is that your offensive guys are never going to be 200-foot players. They're never going to be that way. They just have to be able to lock it down in the last 3 minutes of every period. No risky plays, no bad turnovers, no blind passes. That's the difference. Brett Hull wasn't a 200-foot player. Even Wayne Gretzky wasn't a 200-foot player. Mario Lemieux certainly wasn't a 200-foot player. But with the game on the line, they locked it down. Mm-hmm. You could put them out there. Brett Hull, you put him on the ice with the other team pulling their goalie, he'd be fine because he was smart. He knew positionally where to go. He'd make good plays with the puck. He knew not to screw around with it. So for me, it's not like 60 minutes, a 200-foot game, because you will lose an element of the offense that way. The body isn't built to go 100 miles an hour on both sides of the puck. Mm-hmm. And so I want Jordan Kyrou to play. Let's just say he plays, most of the game where he's got a pretty good grasp on defensively what he's doing, but he's jumping offensively, but then it's a tight game, and you need him out there to be smart. That's all I want.
Right.
Instead of trying to toe drag it or put it through a guy's legs, put it off the boards. Chip it up the wall and go get it.
I think as you're explaining this to me as well, I'm thinking to myself, sometimes I think I have an unrealistic expectation of what a player's defensive responsibility should be, not only because of them and their offensive skill, but also, too, the way that the game is in 2023. You know what I mean? It's a lot different. I mean, I know that we have talked about it before that, sometimes those defensemen are almost acting like, forwards.
Oh, yeah.
For the most part. So that's the game changing as well, and maybe me being slow to kind of recognize it a little bit.
No, it's fine. Everybody, it's buzzwords too. You hear 200-foot game, and then you think of Ryan O'Reilly, and you're like, why can't he play like that? Well, look at the point totals, though. Look at what Kyrou and Thomas are able to do offensively that, O'Reilly wasn't quite doing in his last couple years here. Mm-hmm. Now, he was great defensively. I put him on the ice in any situation. Still going to be on my power play, but when you look at it, there's sacrifice on that. And did Ryan O'Reilly sacrifice some of the offensive game to be a good 200-foot player? Yeah, he did. And these guys will get there, but let's just realize that right this year, you want that first line to be pedal to the metal offensively.
Yeah, and also, too, you want Jordan Kyrou to be Jordan Kyrou. You don't want to take away.
If you think he's going to be Ryan O'Reilly, then you've really made a big mistake.
Right. You have misjudged this very, very
Your
poorly.
scouting staff has missed the assignment.
Yeah. Oh, I got to ask a question real quick. We got to jump out of the Blues for just a second. I read this article last night on The Athletic, and I'm still not sure that it makes a whole heck of a lot of sense to me. But earlier this week, the Winnipeg Jets do long-term deals with Scheifele and with Connor Hellebuck. And at first I thought it was going to be to make Hellebuck easier to trade. But as I'm reading this article, they're talking about these two guys being the backbone of the Jets. But it feels like a wrong time to do that. Can you kind of talk about that a little bit?
Yeah.
Because I know a lot of folks were thinking Connor Hellebuck was literally just but waiting between now and the trade deadline before he gets moved out of Winnipeg.
Well, he literally said, I'm not going to go through a rebuild.
Yeah.
And he had a year left on his deal, so, he kind of held the cards. But, it'll be interesting to see how this plays out. They're basically turning those two guys into their franchise players. Mm-hmm. I don't know how good that's going to be. We'll see.
Buddy, aren't they both 30 and they got 7-year deals?
Yeah. The deal is really, the term is the problem I have, is Mark Scheifele probably not going to be very productive after the age of 34 or 35. And Connor Hellebuck is a goaltender. Not many are Marc-Andre Fleury still kicking out there at, in the late 30s.
Yeah.
So we'll see. I think that what it is Kevin Cheveldayoff, who's their general manager, looking at the salary cap that's going to go up $4 to $5 million next year. I think he's just trying to rebuild this team, but with a couple of corner pieces that he can build around and, kind of maybe attract some free agents in the next couple of years to come up to Winnipeg and be on a winning competitive team. That's the only thing I get out of it, is that he's forecasting as well that the salary cap's going up and that these guys' contracts won't be that much of a nuisance to him.
But it does make sense for me to read that and to still be a little confused.
Yeah, I was
about
too.
That.
I thought both players would definitely be on their way out. I don't know. Time will tell. Time will tell, and maybe Chevy knows something we all don't, and maybe he doesn't, and he'll be out of a job.
What if you are a 19-year-old, 18-year-old Connor Bedard, and the NHL world is focused on every single thing in which that you do?
Yeah.
I mean, as a teammate to an 18-year-old Connor Bedard, I would bet you that you're trying, I don't want to say insulate is the right word, but you're kind of trying to, like, I don't know, not only maybe keep his head screwed on straight, but like you as a teammate have to have a role in that, I would assume, and he would have to be open to to the other older players kind of helping him along. That's got to be an unbelievably tough spot for that kid.
Yeah, from what I gather, he's very well grounded with the whole process, so I don't necessarily think he'll get too cocky or too full of himself. But you got a couple of guys in Chicago now in Nick Foligno for sure, Corey Perry as well. They'll keep him grounded.
Mm-hmm.
Like they will.
You say that with almost a little smirk on your face.
Well,
almost.
You can sense it as an older player when a kid's getting a little too full of himself or getting a little too carried away, and then you can just knock him down a peg or two. Nothing harmful or anything, but you'll keep it in perspective type thing for that player, and the older guys are going to have to talk with the team and find out, what the expectations are of this player. I'm not even talking about his hockey.
Mm-hmm.
Like, what are you really planning to do with this player? Like, how much is his focus going to be tested? How exhausted is he going to be from jumping from radio to TV to national TV to doing the Pat McAfee show the other day? Like, how much is this going to drain the kid who's never played 82 games in the NHL before?
Right.
So I think there has to be a real group effort in managing this player, because right now the Chicago Blackhawks, coming off a couple of terrible seasons, they're trying to recapture their fan base. The NHL is trying to capture the moment and drive up viewership or sales with jerseys or T-shirts or whatever. And the player's not necessarily the one that people care about. They care about the player to continue to be out there, but only to make them money. And so I think that as an organization, as a coaching staff, I think there should be a very clear plan as to how this is going to work. I think that as a coaching staff, it's going to be Connor Bedard heavy early in the season. And then you're just hoping that the play matches the hype, so that means your team and the player are developing together and probably more successes than failures. And you're just hoping that he can handle it. If he starts to not handle it, or not even from getting cocky, just run down, or maybe he's not playing as good as people thought. Maybe teams are beating him up a little bit and he can't, handle the. Now all the focus is on him for the wrong reasons. So then you're no longer talking about Connor Bedard, the superstar. You're talking about Connor Bedard struggling.
Right.
Boy, he's struggle busting out there.
Mm-hmm.
And that'll just crush a kid too. So I think for me it would be the coaching staff, the management, the marketing of the Chicago Blackhawks that are all on the same page with all this stuff.
And I would hope that when it's a player like this that could be, a foundational piece, that these kind of meetings, these kinds of conversations happen, because, I hate to say it this way, but that's an investment that you do not want to miss on.
Yeah, but some people get lost in the moment too. Even organizations, even the league, even the NHL can get lost in the moment because they're looking to build this hype train up so much that they don't care. Mm-hmm. It's not that they don't care about the kid. It's just, it's not there. They don't care until it's time to care.
Mm-hmm.
And so I think that's why there has to be like layers of protection for this kid, to where 3 or 4 different entities surrounding the process are all on the same page. And if there's a week where you need Connor Bedard to no media, you'll get your 10 minutes after the game, and then after that, he's unavailable.
Mm-hmm.
Give the kid a breather. Let him be a kid. Let him go home and, whatever, play video games or whatnot. Like, let him unwind a little bit.
Well, and I go back to I just cannot imagine being a 19-year-old in Chicago and be the savior of the Blackhawks. I don't think that I would handle that particularly well on a couple of different levels.
Donnie,
it would be very challenging.
I can tell you being 19 and in St. Louis was challenging.
I cannot even imagine.
Yes.
I can.
And this was a world without cell phones,
yeah,
without social media, without internet. And it was still a very difficult time to be focused on everything you should be focused on. So playing in a market like Chicago and everything else that's included in all that, there's going to be some struggles. But from what I gather, he's a really quiet, to himself kid. His personality is very much that of like a Sidney Crosby, business first, play second.
Mm-hmm.
So that probably helps him a lot.
It was so crazy when they had, Crosby and Bedard talking on ESPN.
I thought that was really neat, by the way.
I thought it was amazing. But the thing that struck me so much, man, is I remember looking at Sidney Crosby going, look at that baby-faced little fella.
Oh, yeah.
And now the shoe is on the other foot. Crosby
Bedard looks like he's 14.
He sure does, man. He does not look like he is 18 years old, like, at all. And that was the thing that, like, I was like, holy crap, you know? And I just really, and I know that there are people that call him Cindy and all those sorts of things, and I don't know.
Those people are just jealous.
Everything about that dude, I just like and have always liked. And even coming up like a couple of weeks ago, I saw him delivering season tickets to a Penguins fan. And like just the way that the guy was carrying himself just looks like a regular dude, man. He just looks like a regular guy.
He is. He's from a small town up in Canada, and that's never left him. And that's why he's such a great leader, such a great player is, what you see is what you get.
Is Ovi going to catch the great one?
I don't know, man.
Do you want him to catch the great one?
I don't really want him to.
Yeah.
For a couple reasons. One, I grew up watching Wayne. I played against Wayne, played with him, played for him, and now he's a friend of mine.
Yeah.
And so it's like, do I want Gretz to lose that record? No, not really. Same token, it's exciting, too, to see a modern-day player do it, with scoring the number of goals that he scores like consistently.
Mm-hmm.
I think that's the biggest thing. Ovi's going to have to score goals at a pretty good pace, and he's going to have to stay healthy. And, his career has shown that he stays healthy, and he doesn't really need to move a whole hell of a lot out there to score goals. So we'll see.
Man, and this just came to my, and this is not massively important, but I just in thinking about this. So we're talking about Alexander Ovechkin, who virtually plays every day. A hard hat, pale kind of guy. And, we see things in Major League Baseball about how they worry about starting pitchers so much and not putting so much stress on them. And then in the NBA, they have the time management stuff, which
load
management, which to me is just, we don't hear about any of that stuff with hockey players.
No.
Like at all.
I don't know. I don't know. Maybe hockey's just not as smart as the other sports. I don't know. Pitchers, I get it because it's a same movement over and over and over. All you're doing is breaking down the tissue in your shoulder and your elbow and all that. So I can see, having a pitch count to where you want to keep a guy at. As far as the NBA and load management, I don't get that. I don't get it.
That makes, honest to God, that makes me not want to watch those NBA teams with those players that are doing that sort of thing.
Yeah, I agree. Look, it's no secret. I'm not a huge basketball fan.
Yeah.
It doesn't get me going. I like college basketball.
I do
like
too.
The NCAA tournament. And, every now and then I'll throw on a playoff game in the NBA, but I don't know. I grew up being a basketball fan too. Like there's the Lakers and the Celtics were the two teams back when I was growing up. It was Bird versus Magic.
Yeah.
And, I was all in. Then I was all in when Michael Jordan played for the Bulls.
Same.
But then this new era of basketball has just kind of lost me.
Yeah.
So maybe that's part of it. I don't know. But I don't know. You got guys who pride themselves on playing all 82 games in the NHL, and it's just tough to imagine not wanting to play every game.
I just can't imagine some of those guys like being like, hey, listen, we're going to sit you for a couple games in the press box because we're worried about your time or your management or whatever. I mean, right? Like I can see somebody trying to say that to Ryan O'Reilly, and Ryan will be like, "Stop it!
Yeah.
Like, what are we even doing?
We're
here?
not doing that. No.
Yeah, it's here, Jamie.
It is, baby. Tomorrow night.
I'm so ready. So you're packed. You're ready to go.
Yeah, I'm headed to the airport right now. As soon as we're done.
You got your toothbrush.
Oh yeah, I got everything.
Spare change of underwear.
Oh yeah.
All right. Good deodorant.
Of course.
All right.
Yeah, good. Nice suit picked out.
Good.
Nice tie. All that stuff.
Good.
I'm good to go, buddy.
All right. I love every single bit of it. This is so great. My son, my oldest son, lives out on his own. He is trying to make better financial choices for himself, so he is.
Aren't we all?
He is not currently paying for cable or for an app to watch the Blues.
Okay.
So he is going to be coming over to the house on a regular basis,
There you
and
go.
we are going to be watching hockey. So tomorrow night, man, I'm going to order up some emos. I honest to God, man, I might put it on 2 different TVs in my living room just because I'm so happy that hockey's back, man. Are you excited?
I am so excited.
But it's not like you haven't done it before.
No, I know, but it's still exciting.
But still, it's exciting. It's the first game of the year.
Yep. I can't wait to get to Dallas and get in my hotel room and then start doing all my game prep and doing stuff. And then tomorrow morning, man, we get the pregame skate and can't wait. It's going to be awesome.
Dude. Well, I know I don't need to tell you good luck.
Thank you.
Because you're fan-freaking-tastic.
Well, no, I appreciate it.
But safe travels
Thank you.
and do great stuff. And we're going to all be rooting for you as the season goes on. I hope you know this.
Thank you. I appreciate it very
And
much.
I do still think that we should find a way for me to sit behind you at some Blues game.
We'll figure it out.
I think that would be fun. And if anything else, it means that I'm sitting really close to the ice.
You might have a hard time seeing around me.
Well, I have.
That's the one thing I feel bad for those fans who bought those tickets for all those years.
Oh yeah, because they were behind Panger.
They literally had nothing in their way to block them from seeing the ice, and now they've got me, who's, let's see, Panger's 5'6", I'm 6'1". Do the math, 7 inches taller.
And I feel like 5'6" on a very good day for Panger.
Yeah.
Like I feel like we're being very
And
kind.
Shoulders are a little wider, and so
I didn't even think about that. Well, folks, sorry, I guess.
I don't know.
For Jeff Burton, Alex Ferrario, our dude Jamie Rivers, Donnie Fandango, thanks for listening to the Last Minute Blues podcast. As always, let's go Blues!
The Last Minute Blues Podcast. Hear more at 1057thepoint.com.